What's up guys, your boy Boss Mac back to gaming.com. Last year was the year of fast OLED displays and every company had something to offer. For MSI, their highlight is the MEG 342C QD-OLED, a curved ultra-wide QD-OLED screen featuring a 175Hz refresh rate and a display HDR 400 True Black certification with peak 1000 nits of brightness. In this video, we'll be discussing the MEG 342C QD-OLED and how it's the experience both in gaming and in general use. We'll also talk about OLED care as well and what to keep in mind when using an OLED display. So before all of that, let's take a closer look at the MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED. Let's start off with the physical aspects and then dive to more details. First off, despite what the 4-foot box suggests, the actual monitor size is a tad smaller. At around 30 cm wide and 14 cm deep, the box does make it seem larger than it is. But still, this monitor will be quite wider than most standard 16:9 displays, so be sure to check to make sure it fits on your desk. The stand adds more to the depth, so take note of that as well. It will fit standard 60 cm deep desk, but it will be closer to you. The included stand is articulated and features tilting up and down as well as height adjustment. You do have the option of using your own articulated monitor mount. The MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED uses standard 100x100 base of mounting holes, which is common for normal sized gaming monitors. Input options include a single display port and a pair of HDMI 2.1 ports. Expanding on that, MSI has added a 65-watt PD USB port that also doubles as a DisplayPort input. There's also two pairs of standard USB-A ports for your other devices. Take note that you need to connect the included USB-B cable included in the package to your main computer to take advantage of the built-in USB hub. The USB-C PD charger though works both as a power delivery charging port for your PD-compatible devices and will work as a DisplayPort input as well simultaneously. This is perfect for those using the monitor for their laptop with limited ports, so they can charge and output display from a single USB-C port with PD charging. All of this is put together by MSI in this excellent housing featuring their black and gold treatment. While a lot of us may be used to black and red being MSI's favorite gaming color, being a high-end product, MSI has been releasing more black and gold to go with their enthusiast MEG lineup. We have this gold portion from the base which runs up to the back of the center post. This is complemented by touches of gold on the MSI Gaming Dragon logo as well as the onboard buttons. And talking about buttons, primary control for the OSD is done by this joystick at the back with the power button and macro key accompanying it. You can program the macro key by the software, but again, you need the USB-B cable plugged in for it to work. We'll continue with some of the features you may have noticed, but before that, let's talk about OLED screens. I assume a lot of you have been hearing about OLED more often in the past 2 years, and to simplify things, with the availability of faster OLED displays capable of delivering faster refresh rates, they've become the more ideal panels for those looking for the superb visual experience. This is primarily due to QD-OLED, which made the technology so much more available. The topic of explaining QD-OLED versus OLED versus LED or LED versus everything else is a very broad topic. If you want to explore it more, I'll leave a link down in the description for an excellent resource. The most important part to know is that it is largely agreed upon that OLED provides excellent contrast, inky blacks, and very fast response times. But along with all this good word, there's also some of the bad, and you'll hear a lot of noise regarding burn-in. Burn-in is still a concern, but with the advancement made in modern OLED displays, it's not as huge as some people make it out to be. Being informed of what causes burn-in as well as the features, like what MSI employs, reduces the risk of spoiling your OLED display. We'll go to the OLED care and burn-in prevention features that the MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED has later on in this video. Let's talk about the screen first, and I really have to emphasize how hard it is to capture just how good the picture quality is. If you have the graphics horsepower, the native 175Hz refresh rate on SDR is already great, but it definitely goes to a new level with HDR enabled. You can choose between HDR 1000 or display HDR 400 through black. You can choose which is the most suitable for your personal usage and freely choose which is the best in your case. regardless of which you pick. Enabling HDR in games, especially AAA cinematic games, really gives a true immersive feel. And again, going back to the other quality of life additions as well as the rest of the gaming intelligence suite that MSI offers, it's really nice that MSI has paid attention to small details to make life both easy as well as give gamers a little bit of an advantage. While smart brightness and remote control are pretty much self-explanatory, MSI Smart Crosshair, Optic Scope, and Night Vision falls in that unfair advantage category. Smart Crosshair is an AI-assisted crosshair overlay, while Optic Scope is a magnifier, while Night Vision is a darkness intensifier, all of which gives you an advantage in certain gaming scenarios. You can personalize each tool to your liking along with the image settings and then save them to your personalized gaming profile. MSI Spectrum Bar, or that RGB light bar at the bottom of the screen, really adds to this experience as it not only serves a decorative purpose but also serves as bias lighting. While it would have been nice to have bias lighting around the screen, given that this is still a monitor which may not always be up against a wall, I understand MSI's choice of only going for the bottom edge. As a 21:9 screen, the ultra-wide aspect also means that you can see more across the screen, and games that support this natively will give you a wider field of view, adding to the immersion. For professional work, this also means that you either get a longer timeline or just more workspace. The $1,800 curvature is also just enough curve to not skew your perspective when working with 2D content on the MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED. And speaking of professional work, if you need to control another device, MSI's KBM feature lets you switch to a secondary device for easier multitasking. There's really not a lot you can complain about this monitor, but let's talk about what you will most likely see when people discuss OLED monitors online. Burn-in. Burn-in is what happens when an image stays on screen for too long, leaving an outline of that image on the screen, or in other words, burning that image in. This means that if you leave your windows on the desktop, eventually your desktop will be burned in on your monitor. But this happens over a long period of time, and monitor makers now have tools to help make this less likely to happen. MSI's OLED Care features include auto brightness control, pixel shift, panel protect, and static screen detection. But this works best when the user is aware of how to best care for their OLED display. It's not a requirement, but if you leave your PC on 24/7, making it a habit of powering up your display when you're away from the computer is simply the easiest way to care for your OLED display. Otherwise, using a screensaver that blacks out the screen is also a good idea. Other than some small nitpicks, it's hard to complain about the MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED. Picture quality is amazing, HDR is superb, and the monitor's build quality really feels like you're buying a premium screen. At 74,995 pesos, at this price point, 74K isn't even close to some of the 6-digit displays we've seen in the past that aren't even OLED displays. Now, with that being said, some would argue a TV would be a more worthwhile investment. But if we're talking desktop gaming like FPS, unless you have a very big desk or a very big room, the immersion you get is totally different from big screens from a desktop monitor, especially if you play competitively. That 175Hz refresh rate and ultra-responsive screen is really tough to beat. If your primary use case is gaming and you want an immersive display with impeccable image quality and vibrance, then the MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED is definitely up for your consideration if you're eyeing a premium display. The MSI MEG 342C QD-OLED is available now at MSI concept stores and authorized dealers. You can also check with your favorite online store at Lazada or Shopee for pricing and availability. This has been your boy Boss Mac of BackToGaming.com. If you want to see more videos like this one, don't forget to like the video, comment the video, and subscribe. And I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.